If parenthood came with a GPS, it would most likely just say recalculating. Join Yolandi Becker and her guest experts Wednesdays at 11 a.m. for Bump and Beyond, the show about pregnancy and babies. 101.9 megahertz of life.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, you are on Bump and Beyond, and I am your host, Yolandi Becker, and I'm loving the warmer weather. I think you as well probably love the warmer weather, and that will mean that I will be complaining less during this hour of my show every week. I've already been in the pool. Can you believe it? The pool is not warm, but I felt like I had to shake off winter and just go for it. And it was a horrible experience, I have to say. Even here in Pretoria, the weather, it was warm outside, but the pool was not hot enough yet for swimming. But I did it, and my kids also did it. It might take a week or so before I attempt it again, though. Thank you to you, all of you sent me an email, messages on social media as well after our show last week. I think infertility is definitely a talk that we might have to do again, as I got so many messages, and specifically a lot of messages as well from dads out there. And I think that's the talk that we have to have next, not unfortunately today, but specifically about the infertility journey for dads, because it seems like this is a very not talked about subject that we will need to get into very soon. So on that note, please remember that you can, of course, you can personally send me an email on Yolandi. It's Yolandi with a J, Jolandi at goodnightbaby.co.za. If you are willing to talk to me about that, I would love to have you on the show. But you can also send us a telegram on 061 895 1019 or phone us on 010 140 3020. Of course, as well, you can send us an email at instudio@chaifm.com. Today's show, though, is an interesting segue from that topic, I guess. But it actually, the topic came to mind recently because I got an email as a reminder from my stem cell banking place that my 10 years is coming to an end, that we saved my daughter's stem cell. So that obviously signals different things. The fact that she is in fact turning 10 soon, which is not a nice thought. But then it also got me thinking about stem cell banking and reminding me of the reason why I wanted to do it. And if this is something that you would be interested in discussing and knowing more about, hence why I, as always, bring in the experts so that we can specifically talk about it. Because interesting thought, because now it's 10 years in, I obviously haven't used the stem cells that I banked. And I also kind of had the question of like, how many people actually use those stem cells? And why are we banking it? And is it something we should all be doing? Because now also doing the research for the show, I have to say to you that the research and the uses of stem cells is increasing by the day almost. The amount of uses for stem cells, it is actually remarkable. So, and also something that I realized is that stem cell banking is actually quite a common practice in other countries. Where it's actually like a normal thing that they do. For us, it's unfortunately limited to more the private sector. Again, like the fertility talk like I had last week, the fact that if you have money, it seemingly you have some more privileges that we know, but some more added privileges. But anyway, let me not get, it's only 11 a.m. Let me not get onto my soapbox too quickly today. But stem cell banking. So my what do you call it, guest today is Dr. Lana du Plessis. She's the laboratory director at CryoSafe. Hello, Lana. Dr. du Plessis, let me rather say in a proper. Hello, Dr. du Plessis. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, like I said to you, for me, stem cells, I've done it. I've banked that being said, I never did it for my son. I feel a little bit guilty that I did it. And then when my daughter came, I don't even know. I honestly, it's so long ago. I can't recall how the journey started, but I think it was at an antenatal class or something that someone approached us and then they were talking about it. And then I'm like, well, that seems like a responsible thing to do, like insurance. You have household insurance. You never always use it, but it is there just in case. So I want to start with, what are stem cells?
Stem cells are basically the raw building blocks of your body. That's what it's a basic thing we call it, easy for the layman to understand. So what they undifferentiated cells that you find in, as you know now, the cord tissue and the cord blood, and also in the embryonic stage early. They are undifferentiated, and they can differentiate themselves, or they can then multiply themselves and differentiate themselves. That's basically the two main characteristics of stem cells, and they can then differentiate into any of the 200 types of cells that you find in the body. So in a nutshell, that's what they are.
I mean, it is remarkable also because, again, I work in obviously the baby industry. So I also know an unusual amount about these things that I shouldn't sometimes know. Sometimes I wish I had the benefit of ignorance. I'm not always sure knowledge is power when it comes to parenting. But I mean, the stem cells by itself, for me, it's so remarkable because this is now not 100%, but maybe as a doctor, you would know the answer to this question is because I think if I read it right, and this is ages ago, that the female cells that they receive can't change, but the male cells can change. Is that something? Am I just making up things that I probably read on Dr. Google?
No, that's not. So you get the stem cells are in everybody's, even in your body as you sit today.
Yeah.
You've got little niches of stem cells
Yeah.
that are more mature than the ones that you can collect with your baby when it's born. At that stage, at birth, those are the more naive little stem cells that you get within your little, baby's cord blood and cord tissue. And that's the only time that you can store those stem cells. And they differ so tremendously from your stem cells that you've currently got in your body. So your stem cells that you have in your body at this stage are older. They've been changed by the environment. They've had, viruses attacking them. So your stem cells in your body at the moment will heal. If you've got an injury, they will go to that place of injury and heal and repair any damage in your body.
Okay. I mean, it is for me, again, it's a miracle, the fact how we start with a cell and then we all become like babies or like actual creatures. I mean, that is by itself is already a remarkable thing. And it's a miracle. And I think that's why I also love being part of High FM, because I know the people listening are on the same page as me with that miracle part of it. But I'm going to get more into this just now after our ad break.
This is Bump and Beyond with Yolandi Becker, the show about pregnancy and babies. 101.9 megahertz of life.
So, if you've just joined me, this is Bump and Beyond, and I am your host, Yolandi Becker, and we're talking today specifically about stem cell banking. I, of course, as always, want you to join into the conversation. So if you have questions for my expert today, Dr. Lana du Plessis, then please do send us a telegram on 010-140 3020, or that's our telephone number. Our telegram number is 061-895-1019, or you can SMS us at 34519. All these details, of course, is on our app, where you can listen to us, of course, but you can access those details as well directly on there. So please do send us some questions, or if you've done it as well. If you've used your stem cells, even better. I would really love to talk to someone who actually used stem cells. But that being said, let's get into it. We've now spoken about, Lana, Dr. Du Plessis. We've spoken about stem cells and what they are. And already, I mean, just by the fact that they could morph into whatever you want them to that sounds very beneficial to me. But what exactly then is stem cell banking or stem cell storage?
So it basically entails then at birth, well, in the case of your umbilical cord, blood and tissue stem cells, that they'll be collected just after your baby has been born. Some of the cord blood will be harvested from the umbilical cord, taken from the cord by your gynecologist, and a piece of the cord tissue will be cut and also placed in a container. So everything's done sterile at birth, you're just after birth of the baby. And then
and I can just on that note, I can remember that was a very, very professional little package that was there. And it was just as the baby was born, they're like, oh, we have to do this now. And then they did everything really professionally, and it got couriered immediately somewhere.
So that's what I say. After the collection process, it's couriered immediately to the laboratory. Will be processed. So we process the cord tissue separately from the cord blood, and then it gets cryopreserved. And then after the cryopreservation, it goes into your long-term storage for the 20 years or 10-year storage contract that you would have signed with your cord blood bank. So that's what the process itself entails.
And like I said, it was really, I could remember that very specifically, that there was this little package and everything. So well done on like streamlining that process.
You get a special kit courier to you, to your address of your choice, with all the consumables for the collection of the blood and the cord, and then it gets sent away immediately to the laboratory.
Does it get stored like in a fridge, or how does that look like?
So after the collection process, the cord blood is it's spun down to get the little stem cells out of there, and then the cord tissue is processed to put those stems or the mesenchymal stem cells in a container. Then you add a special cryopreservation solution to each. And then they're slowly frozen from 4 degrees to minus 90 degrees. Sure. That's the sort of cryopreservation process, we call it, because you don't want to damage the cells, because the cell membranes are very fragile. So you've got to slowly get this solution into the cell, not as to break or get ice crystals forming. That will damage the integrity of the cells, because you want to freeze that cell in that time of space. I would want,
but it doesn't become something else.
And it doesn't become something else. And then from there, it goes into a big storage tank, which contains liquid nitrogen. But you store the cells, that container specifically, in the gas phase of liquid nitrogen, which is at minus 190 175 to
How big is this container that you're talking about?
It is
like 1 centimeter big.
It's a big stainless steel tank that is made. Yes, yeah. And the one tank can take about, depending on if you store cord blood and tissue in different little racks.
No.
It can contain up to, depending on the size, you get different sizes, 3,000 to 5,000 samples. Individual samples in a big tank, yes.
Okay. No, like I said, I was just interested to know where are these magical things.
And then a tank in itself can cost over $1.5 million a tank itself. So
the cost implications are starting to make sense. Anyway, but now it's the big thing. Okay, now we talked about what is a stem cell and how you will store it or how you will get it. But now the big reason is why? Why would you want to store your stem cells?
Okay, so the main reason is, as I mentioned to you earlier, the stem cells of your baby at birth is very naive. They haven't been touched by the environment. There's no huge impact of the environment in them that can harm them. There's no viruses that have really impacted on them. So they are, at that stage, the most naive that you can get. And then that's the only chance that you can get them, because if you don't store that cord tissue and cord blood at birth, or the placenta you can also store, they will be discarded as medical waste and you will never have them again. And then as your baby grows older day by day by day, the stem cells in their little body will get older day by day by day and we get impacted by the environment. So that is the main reason that we, promote the storage of these little stem cells at birth.
I've got a question on that as well, because someone also told me that you get like stem cells or something. I don't know if it was stem cells or what, maybe it was some other tissue from your baby's milk teeth, and that we should keep their milk teeth. Is that true?
Yes, you can. You can get it from the baby's milk teeth, and you can get it from wisdom teeth.
Too bad for the tooth fairy then, and for the tooth mouse.
But it's a very small amount of stem cells. So the other reason why we store these stem cells, from the cord tissue and the cord blood, you get a higher percentage of stem cells from them, like you would with bone marrow at later stages of life, or in your peripheral blood. There's also a bigger amount of stem cells in those tissues than in your normal, as I mentioned to you, in your body, you also have stem cells, but they're smaller amounts. So, to store them away is not, I want to say it's not viable, but it for that amount, it costs a lot of money to store that little amount of stem cells away.
I mean, I'm learning quite a lot. If you've just joined me, I am talking to Dr. Lana du Plessis, who's the laboratory director at CryoSafe, specifically about stem cell and what do you call it, cord blood tissue banking. So because it's a quite popular thing, I think, that's happening. And again, like I mentioned, now doing research for this, I couldn't believe the amount of research and the uses of stem cells. But yes, before we get to that specific, what can it be used for? I would like to clarify a little bit. What is the difference between cord blood and cord tissue?
Okay, so the cord blood is the blood that stays behind in the baby's umbilical cord after it's been delivered. So doctor can takes a syringe with a needle, not a syringe, a specific bag that is provided in your kit, and there are needles attached to it, and then they clean the cord, place the needle into the cord, and then it drains the blood into the bag that is sterile and everything. And the cord tissue is a part of just the umbilical cord that the doctor will cut a piece of that cord that contains Wharton jelly and the mesenchymal stem cells and a few other stem cells that's also valuable to store away. So that's the difference. And then if you want to know the difference of uses of them,
let's get into that, yes.
So the cord blood itself contains your, just for a simple term, blood-forming stem cells, which can be used for more than 80 diseases currently, which has been FDA approved. So these include some cancers, some immunological diseases, some metabolic diseases, and that's about, as I say, about 80 of them that can be treated. Then your cord tissue contains your mesenchymal stem cells, which they have to be expanded before use, but these are very, very valuable, so that they can be used for things like muscular dystrophy, heart disease, spinal cord injuries, and so many more. As you say, you've read about so many uses of it, and those are the ones that are currently in clinical trials. They haven't been approved in many countries, like this, the cord blood stem cell transplants that have been approved, as I mentioned, by 80 diseases.
Oh, so the whole idea, obviously, for the and that's how it was sold to me, and it clearly worked because I did do it. But the whole idea is obviously, like I said, it's a little bit like insurance. In some ways, I guess you never really want to use these stem cells because it will mark something that's not great that is happening. Like cancers, as you mentioned, with the blood-forming cord blood, and then also like muscle dystrophy and heart disease and those type of things. Is that the main reason why you would keep this? In case you would need the stem cells, obviously, for your child?
Yes, definitely, and also for your family, because in this sense, you actually having an insurance for your family as well. And with the stem cell industries, developing so fast with all the new research and techniques and technologies that they are looking at all these different diseases, it would take another 5 to 10 years, and those stem cells will be as viable as they were when the day you stored them. So that is why with the industry developing so fast, you never know when you might need them. And there is a sort of a number that they've given you. They believe that you have a 1 in 217 chance roughly for a person in a 70-year lifetime to be needing a transplant in their life. And I think with the technology developing in, as I mentioned, with heart disease, all the other uses of it, that even infertility, they're looking, you were mentioning you had to talk about infertility. They're even looking at infertility, that they're using these stem cells for that. Ovarian failure, and a lot of, people that struggle to get pregnant and things like that. They're looking at
and I mean, you always, I mean, you hear some of these really sad stories where people are talking about like, my child needs like bone marrow. Please, can you come and test to see if you're a match? And those type of situations where you need these, I assume, stem cells and things like that. And it sometimes takes quite a long time to find a match for certain people. So in some ways, that's the whole essence of it. Then you have these saved up, and you can actually help fight these diseases with the stem cells that you stored.
Yes, absolutely. So that's why we, as a family stem cell bank, we tell people, if you don't have these stem cells when needed, if your child develops leukemia or some other disease that can be treated immediately, you will have to wait for maybe a month or more. You don't know if you're going to find a match. And at least if you've got them available, they will be ready for use, even for a sibling or even a parent they might be used for. Whereas, you can, for a sibling, you have a 25% chance of a match, and for parents, a 50%. And then another valuable thing of these stem cells from your baby.
But now, what if I use my child's stem cells and then they need it?
That's what I wanted to say now. So the other wonderful thing about these stem cells is, because they're so naive, you don't need to have an exact match. You need there's a lower matching ability, percentage that you need in comparison to bone marrow and the older stem cells that you have to find a match for. Then, as you say, if you use it all now, there's now new technology that they can expand these cord blood stem cells, that you can use them for adults, and you can make them more to be able to use in more than one transplant.
Oh, that is, I mean...
It's not available in our lab at the moment yet, just but it overseas. They are doing these expansion technologies on it.
Because that's also what I mentioned in the beginning of my talk as well. I realized that some countries actually kind of just do it from the beginning. It's part of they've got like a government stash.
Yes. That's also a thing that people have to be very careful for. That there's countries like that would just do the stem cell therapy without proper clinical trials, and that's what we always caution our clients and say, look, it's not all of these diseases have been approved for therapy, for use of stem cells in this therapy, and that's why we just caution it's not available at the moment. It is being studied in clinical trials, which takes, as I say, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. I now mentioned my period or initial period. They did say I could extend, which maybe after this talk I will do. But what is the average? What time frame do you kind of recommend for? How long should you be storing this?
How long can you store? So this stem cell field of the umbilical cord stem cells is about 35 to 37 years old. So we recommend initially the 20 years, but after the 20 years, you can sign up for another 20 years. Because I believe science has proven that as long as you don't disturb them and you maintain them in that temperature, they might be viable for many, many years to come. They can't say infinitely, but they say many years to come.
You guys have backup batteries in your laboratory.
Yes. One of the big questions that we always get. So we have a 24-hour generator that kicks in immediately, on power.
To keep it at the -90, or I can't even remember how
Yes.
minus you said it was. But I
Yes.
mean, it is really interesting. And again, I mean, I guess you never really want to use these things. That's not the idea. But how do you know that number? How many people actually
So
withdraw from your bank?
So in our bank we've had three releases, and then we have a program, we call it a cost-free donation program. So if parents have a child that's already has leukemia or so, when they're pregnant again, they can apply and ask if they for the cost-free donation program. And then we contact the transplant physician of the sibling that's ill, and they will say yes, they would consider a transplant. Then we'll store that new baby stem cells and see if it's a match for that. So in that instance, we've had about 32 cases like that, but they haven't been used because a lot of those little children went into remission, and they're still, in remission at this stage. So there are a lot of uses, and if you look at over the entire world, there's been more than 40,000 releases of only the cord blood, transplants worldwide, with a very high success rate. Yes.
That's wonderful. I can't. Let's see. Already, Craig is like notioning to me that we're running out of time, but we're going to get into our final questions just now after this ad break.
This is Bump and Beyond with Yolandi Becker, the show about pregnancy and babies. 101.9 megahertz of life.
If you've just joined me, today's talk is specifically about stem cell banking with Dr. Lana du Plessis from CryoSave. And as I mentioned before, I actually did do the whole banking of the stem cells, and I've now decided that it's probably a good idea to keep it. So I will extend my period. But again, if you want to add to the conversation, don't be afraid. Please do send us a telegram on 061 895 1019 or SMS us at 34519. SMSs are charged at R1.50. And also, don't forget, it was so far already very interesting and valuable talk. So you can go listen to this as a podcast after our talk on our website at highfm.com. This and all of the other podcasts, I've spoken about so many different topics. Please go have a look. And if you want me to talk about something specifically, please send me an email at yolandi@goodnightbaby.co.za, and I would love to hear from you. And to talk about what you want to talk about. But before we run out of time, I do have still some questions for Dr. du Plessis. I've now decided Lana is okay. I've been comfortable here. I feel the doctor part is now over. We have established she's a doctor. But yes, something that you mentioned now earlier as well about obviously there's a chance of that you can use your stem cells, a 50% chance for me, if something happens to me, to use my child's or to be a match for the stem cells and a 25% chance for my son to use my daughters. Is there, does the match change depending on your blood type? Is there an increased chance? Like, is there a specific blood type that will increase your chances of matching?
No, the matching with stem cells is totally different from the blood groups. It works on your HLA markers, so it's more immune matching that you have to do.
I'm just wondering because I always know when I go donate blood that they're like, "Ooh, my O positive blood is really impressive blood. It can be used a lot."
Can be used for many people.
Yeah. So let's get into the specific things of now choosing if you want to now. I think you've convinced a couple of people. We need to store your blood or your stem cells. And you should also donate blood on that, right? Mm-hmm. But anyway, when we're looking for a cord blood bank, what are some of the things we should be looking for? Because you also mentioned government. Sometimes there's little things that you should be looking out for. What should we be looking for?
Yes, so as we discussed the releases, a stem cell bank should have at least done some releases. They should have a good inventory, a big inventory. They should have been in the business for quite a while. They should be financially stable, and then also accredited with one of the well-known authorities overseas. We as Cryosavers, we are AABB accredited, and we also have the basic accreditation needed for the nomenclature and the labeling and what's required for our AABB accreditation. Then, as I mentioned, they must also have their own laboratory and have good technical staff that works in the laboratory, and that's all the things that we adhere to. And then just exceptional service. I think as a parent, you would love to have it treated as a special, because it's a big decision you're making in your life. To have that special treatment when people call you to find out, are you interested, and give you the correct information, and be professional in any emails or any communication you receive from the bank. And then also a bank must offer, because as we as a Cryosavers Stem Cell Bank, we offer parents a very good financial plans that they can pay on a financial plans. We even offer 60-month payment plans. We offer, and we take the parents' needs, financial needs, in consideration when we discuss with them the payment plans and things for the storage.
I mean, that's very helpful. Like I said, sometimes these things are very reserved for the people who can afford it. And I'm glad to hear that there has been changes with that regard. I also just have to mention to everyone that's listening that Lana did actually invite me to come look at the lab. So obviously there is something to go look at.
Any of the listeners, if they want to come for a lab tour, they must just drop me or let you know, and you can drop me a mail and we can make an appointment.
Yeah, because that is the thing, is that it's like an insurance policy. I mean, I've never been to my insurance company's office in my whole life, and I'm not planning on doing it very soon. I lie, I have been to the Discovery Building. I don't know, think about it. I did a cooking course there. Anyway, but that being said, say that you've got a 60-month payment plan. What are the cost implications if you want to bank stem cells?
Yes, so it's the cost. As I said to you, we always listen to the financial needs of the client. We've got the kit and the you pay for your kit separately, and then you pay for the processing when it's done. You start paying only then after the baby's born and the processing has been done. Then your payment plan, if you choose a payment plan, will kick in. We offer, as I said, up to 60-month payment plans. And then you pay storage 49 Rand a month.
Oh.
For the entire 20-year period. You can pay it as a 49 Rand, or you can pay a yearly fee of 588. And then, we as a stem cell bank, we adhere to the storage term, and that you have to pay for the storage, because banks that don't, have a continuing storage plan or payment plan, you have to worry about the fact that they, how are they going to have an annuity and keep that storage facility run for the entire period that your child's stem cells are stored.
Yeah.
One of the things we really maintain very well is the cryopreservation and the facility downstairs.
No. Is there people that have to constantly check that everything is fine there?
Oh no, it's a 24-hour operation. Yes. So we have in our system downstairs. We have a logger system that works on Wi-Fi that triggers if there's any deviation in the temperature. It's a 5-degree temperature variation, then it triggers. And the tanks are filled by, we can fill it manually if there's a power failure, even if for instance, our generator wouldn't kick in, we can still fill the tanks manually because we've got a gravity feed. But otherwise, in normal circumstances, it's got a valve system that opens and closes if there's the little Wi-Fi logger says, "Ooh, I'm not too hot." It will open up and it fills and it keeps it at a constant temperature.
Okay. So see, Craig reminding me again that we have to take a break, but we are going to finish up just now. I've learned so much, and like I said, Lana, I think we've convinced a lot of people.
This is Bump and Beyond with Yolandi Becker, the show about pregnancy and babies. 101.9 megahertz of life.
And just like that, another one of my shows is coming to a strong end. And it was a great talk today, specifically about stem cell banking. Also, the important uses of stem cell banking. Again, in the end, I think this is not really a bank that you want to withdraw from necessarily. But it is a nice thing to know that you have that, like little angel waiting for you in case you need it to help you through, because it will be a difficult time if you discover someone in your family has cancer or something like that. I think just knowing that you might actually make a difference if you have these things, I think that's the type of reassurance that you want. And that you don't have to wait to start treatment. How long, on that note, Lana, how long does it actually take? If I know, say I want my stem cells, when can I get them? Tomorrow?
So it goes through a total process. So your transplant physician will be in contact with the transplant physician. Then there's documents that have to be signed. They do basically we will do a testing on the stem cells itself to check the even if it is your own, say for instance, your mom saved your stem cells, even if it was saved for you as a baby, we will still have to do the stem cell typing and we have to check for the viability of the cells and everything. And then everything is a process that goes, then it goes to the transplant facility that will be released. And only if you as a parent have signed off and given approval and all the documents and everything has been signed, will it be released to the transplant facility with the correct shipment on the liquid nitrogen to the facility. It'll be immediately transplanted, if it's been approved then. And then, it's not just, I can't just give it to you in your hand and you drive away in a freezer box.
If only, because then I could have just gone pick up mine that I've been storing and put it in my fridge, but it's not that easy.
Yes.
Dr. Lana du Plessis, we've unfortunately run out of time, but it was so wonderful. And I think we've all learned so much about the importance of stem cells, firstly, and also the importance of stem cell banking. So I thank you so much for joining me.
Only a pleasure.
And again, this will be available as a podcast on highfm.com, so you can go and listen to it at your own time or send it to someone that needs to go and listen to it. The world is changed by our example, not by our opinion. Let's lead by example for our children. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, enjoy your day.